And last year we managed to have 8 meetings covering a variety of topics and inviting various speakers, researchers, cooperators, practitioners, so not only from university and academia, and also from international agency. But you're not seeing the slideshow online, right?
We are seeing only the main
okay,
the introduction.
Sorry. Okay, now you can see, sorry. So these were the topics covered only online last year, while today we have the chance to have a hybrid cycle, and we are very happy to see real people here in the room. Of course, you can find all the past seminars online, our YouTube channel, and also these meetings will be registered and then published online. And we had a lot of speakers from different realities last year, and we are doubling it this year with academic and practitioners and cooperators. And just some quick logistic information for the students that had the need to have a recognition of the credit, that because this cycle of seminar is part also of the academic plan, study plan for some students. We ask for the 75% of attendance and of a final report on a topic regarding one of the meetings, so the one you preferred and you choose to focus on the most, on a cross-cutting theme across several meetings. But we can speak directly with you and just go deeper in that, in the form and in the format and in the content in the next meetings or privately. So today we will cover energy poverty, while in the next meeting we will go through agri-food supply chain, but also circular economy, water resource management in data scarcity context, environmental conflicts, and nature-based solution for sustainable cities and landscape. All the meetings will be on Wednesday at this time, so 5:30 in the afternoon until 7 o'clock. Yes, more or less, we are quite flexible, so it could be some minutes late sometimes or earlier. And so we are part of a bigger group, and we would like to thank all our colleagues that support this cycle of seminar and the activity of the UNESCO chair here at University of Trento. And now I will stop speaking and I will like to introduce the first speaker of today, that is Professor Álvaro Fernández-Baldor from University Polytechnic of Valencia, and he will start this meeting introducing energy poverty topic, and he will present us with his knowledge and experience what does it mean. And so please, Professor, the stage is yours. Feel free to start whenever you want.
Okay, are you seeing my screen? Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. First of all, thank you for your presentation, and also thank you to the UNESCO chair in Engineering for Human and Sustainable Development, and also thank you to the Università di Trento for this invitation to be here. It's a pleasure to be with you and to learn with you and to share with you. Okay, my presentation is a really brief introduction about what is energy poverty and the connections between the local sphere, what can we do here in our countries, in our cities, in our neighborhoods, and the connection with the international cooperation. This is my presentation. If I go too fast, please stop me. Don't hesitate in interrupting me, and I will try to be slower, okay? So this is the summary of my presentation. I will make a brief introduction of what energy poverty is, to pass to the case of Valencia, in my city where I live, and we will see what can we do and what are the local government doing about energy poverty, okay? And then we will move and I will stop to the energy projects at international cooperation. That is what I think is more interesting for you and is the topic of this kind of conferences. And at the end, I will finish with 2 conclusions and 2 open questions for the debate. Okay, let me start with the first part of my presentation with the energy poverty. Okay, this is not a simple question. What is energy poverty? Okay, there is not only only one definition about what energy poverty is. Every state, every region, in every city, you can find a different definition of what energy poverty is. But if we think in developed countries, such as Italy or Spain or the EU in general, we understand energy poverty as the ability to keep your home in an adequate temperature. In the case of Valencia, for example, to keep your house cool at summer mainly, okay? In other countries, for example, is to keep your home warm in winter, okay? But this is the main definition as the EU defines energy poverty, the inability to keep your home in an adequate temperature. That means that that household don't have enough money to pay the energy bills, okay, to keep the home in an adequate temperature. But that's not the same in all the countries. When we speak about developing countries, so many regions in Latin America and Africa and most of Asia, what we understand of energy poverty is the lack of electricity. Okay, and I will focus in this topic, in the lack of electricity in my presentation. So let me show you the case of Valencia. How we understand here energy poverty. Okay, here the city council applies the 10% rule. That means that you have energy poverty, or you are poverty in an energy sense, that if the 10% of your total income is less than or equal to the total household energy expenditure. So think about your house. If you are paying more than the 10% of your income, then you are poverty in energy terms. I don't know in your city, because as I told you before, every city has their own definition. And in that sense, they make policy related to that definition. And so it is important how every city, every region, every country defines energy poverty. Okay, how many people represent this 10% rule in Valencia? About, as you can see, about 12% of population here in Valencia are poor in energy terms because of that definition. The 12% of population, the expenditure is more than 10% of the total income of the household. If we see this on the map, as you can see, in the city center, there is no energy poverty. But if you go to the surroundings of the city, you can find 20–25% of people being energy poverty. So what can we do? Well, this is what the city council is doing at Valencia. In the first way to alleviate energy poverty is education and awareness raising. What are doing the city council here? They are doing training, coaching, advocacy, also aiming at people to protest to the other government about this issue, the energy poverty. So education and awareness raising is the first issue. Other way is to help people with financial assistance. It means with economic aid or grants. As you can see in my region, in Valencia, the local government in the last year, they allocate around 3 million euro to fight against energy poverty, only to fight against energy poverty here in Valencia. So it's something the politics can do as well, and also in our countries. Other measure we can take is a home renovation. How can we do it? With loans, for example, loans for home renovation, also supplying kits for emergency isolation, for example, and measures like that related to home renovation. And also trying to focus on the habits of people. And here the local government are working with energy audits, also trying to improve the habits of the citizens. But also, maybe more transformative is thinking about a transition to a new energy system model. And this is a new way the local government is working for in the last 5 or 6 years, maybe because we have left government in the last 5 or 6 years. And they are trying to implement a new model. For example, the public marketers, the local government is selling energy, so to the market and also to the citizens and also to the neighborhoods. It's a new kind of energy model. Also, they are promoting the shared self-consumption systems, mainly in the roofs of the buildings. And also there are grants and other economic aid to promote energy cooperatives. Now in Valencia, in the Valencia region, not in the city of Valencia, but in the Valencia region, we have, I think, 5 or 6 energy cooperatives. All of them working with renewable energy. And many of them, what they're doing is to buy photovoltaic systems abandoned in the previous era, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and they are trying to put to work, and they are selling the energy to the citizens. Okay, so but it's a bottom-up strategy of the local government trying to promote that people get together to generate renewable energy and to share and to sell the energy to other citizens. Okay, that's in my city, but let me focus in the energy projects at the international cooperation. That I think this is mainly the most important topic in this kind of webinars. This is a picture where you can see the inequality in the access of electricity around the world. As you can see, the inequality is not only from the north to the south, but as you can see, for example, in the USA, there's also inequalities in the west coast with the east coast, as you can see. So when we talk about inequality in energy access, we must talk about also in the rural areas, urban areas, the north, the global south. But this is a good picture to introduce the inequalities in the energy sector and specifically in the electricity sector. Well, in the SDGs, in the 2030 agenda, there is one SDG devoted to the energy, as you may know. The 7th is the affordable and clean energy. And the main goal of this SDG is that by 2030, to ensure universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy services. And if you see the facts of the last report, of the 2019 report, you can see that still today, 30% of the global population still lacks access to modern electricity. So that's a lot of people. And 3 billion people in the USA billion, 3 billion people rely on wood, coal, charcoal, or animal waste to cook or heating their houses. So it's an ecological problem, as you know. because energy is the dominant contributor to climate change, accounting around 60% of the total global greenhouse gas emissions. So it's important to change this, a transition to a renewable system, trying to avoid or at least going down with these numbers. Okay? And let me finish with this other number. In 2016, the share of renewables increased at the fastest rate since up 2012, at 0.24 percentage points. So we are increasing the quantity and the quality of the renewables energy, and mainly through hydropower plants, wind energy, and solar plants. This is the facts you can see in the last report of the United Nations. And those are the predictions of the United States for the energy, for the provisions for 2040. And as you can see, the increase of solar, wind, mainly solar and wind, when we talk about renewable energy, there are a lot of room still to move towards this kind of renewable energy. Okay, let me focus in renewable energy in international cooperation projects. Well, this is an example of a solar photovoltaic plant in Senegal. And as you can see, you have here the different panels, and in the house, you have the regulator and the generator and the batteries and so on. This is a kind of centralized model, in the sense that you produce the energy in these panels, and after that you distribute the energy to the whole village. Okay, this is one kind of implementing the solar PV plants in development projects. And the other way is installing individual systems. As you can see here in Colombia, is the other way. NGOs and local governments are trying to put electricity in the houses of people. Normally the debate is around if what management is better, to put a centralized micro network, or it is better to put an individual panel in each house. Normally that's the debate. And it's probably the same with the wind energy. The wind energy, you can put a big mill, such as this you can see in the left, aiming to provide energy for a whole village. But the other possibility is to put one small wind energy system in each house. And what is better? Normally you can find hybrid systems where NGOs and local governments, they combine solar PVs with micro wind systems, okay, in order to provide energy if there is no wind, or if there is no sun, it's not a sunny day. If you put the two systems together in a hybrid system, you can avoid being without cuts or no electricity. So normally you can find or a centralized system, or normally NGOs and many local governments are trying to put together solar PVs and wind systems in each house. Okay, and the other, the most used or most spread renewable technology is small hydropower plants. The problem here, you need a river, and you need a mountain, or you need to generate power. It is related with the the water you have, so the quantity of liters of the river, but also you need a high jump to get power to the turbine. So if you are in a flat region, or if you don't have a river, you don't have the possibility to run a small hydropower plant. But when you have the conditions, normally is a really good option, because the studies say generates a sense of community among the people working in the community running the power plant, and also because you can get back your money in 20 or 15 years, but with a really interesting power supply to the community. So if you have the conditions, normally you will see this is like the best option, or one of the best options. Obviously, you have to check all the options before implement one or other technology. But now let me be controversial, because I'm at the university and in academia, we put the role as researchers, and we normally are reflexive. We try to generate debate about development issues. But not only NGOs, but also local governments and universities and all the stakeholders, normally, despite being these energy projects integrated into development cooperation projects, the focus has been, or in many cases, has been on efficiency and sustainability of the energy systems. And in my opinion, that is obviously important, but poverty is really complex. When we work with people, as you know, the poverty is a multidimensional issue. So energy is only a good or service probably needed to development, but we need a lot of things more, not only the energy. So in my opinion, more attention must be focused also in social issues, as I will explain in the next slide. So this is, I don't know if you know the capability approach of Amartya Sen, Martha Nussbaum, and Ingrid Robbins, and many other scholars. But to me, this represents how difficult is development. So in the sense that if you have goods and services, such as energy, for example, there are many individual conversion factors that affects each person, that affects in the way that you can convert these goods and services into an option for you. For example, there are many social issues, legal forms, social forms, behaviors of people, environmental factors that can affect that two different people cannot have the same options, the same capability set, the same real options, the same freedoms, having the same goods and services. Let me put you an example. So my point is, if we understand energy only as something we can put into a community as a good or services, it depends of the individual conversion factors of every people, that it transforms or not into a real option for each person. So let me explain you with this bicycle, with an example. If our project is to provide electricity or provide bicycles, for example, to a community, to me, that's not development. That's something that is good, is a good, in fact. You can provide goods and services, but that is not related with development. For example, if we provide the bicycles to a community in Africa, and we stop there our project, to me that's good, but that's not a development project. That's something assistential, caritative, but you are not understanding the complexity of development. For example, what happens if one person of the community is not able to ride a bicycle because that person has no legs, for example? That bicycle is not a real option for that people, you know? Is that clear? I think it's clear. If you don't modify the bicycle, that bicycle is not a real option for that people. And the same way, if you provide bicycles or energy to a community where there are environmental issues that affect on how can I use my bicycle, for example, if you provide bicycles in a community, but the community has no roads or has a lot of mountains, it's probably that people cannot use your bicycle. So development is not about providing bicycles. And also let me focus on the social issues. The third, as you can see here, the third, social is really important, working in development cooperation. Also, if you are technologists or engineers, because we must understand that is a conversion, the most important conversion factor. For example, if I provide bicycles to a community, but women are not allowed to ride a bicycle, I don't know why. I don't understand that community. But if I only provide bicycles and in that community, women are not allowed to ride bicycle, the half of the population of that community have not the real option to ride the bicycle. Okay, so development is about what people can do. So we must focus in the real options of people. And development normally is understood as fostering the options or opening the options of people, not providing electricity, bicycles, or everything. Okay, so sorry for being controversial. I don't know the other presentations of my colleagues, but maybe later we can discuss this point. Okay. But let me show you in the case of electricity, how providing electricity is important, but also if you don't focus on people, maybe you are not providing development, but you are providing inequalities. So let me explain you the case of 4 renewable electrification projects in Peru that I had the opportunity to assess, to evaluate 8 years ago. Those are, it is not important. Those are the projects, a micro wind network, a small hydro, an hybrid project of photovoltaic and wind individual systems, and also another small hydro. I don't care about I will not talk about the efficiency and other technological terms of the assessment. I only will focus on the social issues of my assessment, okay? Because as I told you before, to me development is about expanding the options of people, but in the things they value. So to me, when I assess or when I am designing or participating in an international cooperation project, to me, what is really important is to know what people value in life, because what I value probably is different of what you are valuing or what you are understanding for your well-being or for your development. And if we go to Africa or Latin America, probably it's really different. They value different things. So in my case, before the assessment of the electricity project, I asked people about what they value in life. And I try to collect the answers of the people under these designs that are dimensions of well-being related to health, education, security, and so on. Okay, and after that, I tried to know the impacts of the electrification project. I did it with a dynamic, a game. We pass the ball through the people, and when you get the ball, you must answer or follow these two sentences. The first one is, I like the project because now I'm able to see the TV at night, for example, okay? And also they have to complete the second sentence. I don't like the project because my husband now is watching TV until late, for example. Okay, that's the way, a funny way to check the impacts of the electrification project. And the last step of this part of the project, because the research methodology was bigger, but to me it's important to share this part. The last part of this assessment, social assessment, was to connect what they value with the impacts of the project. So I provide 3 cards for each participant, a green card, a yellow card, and a red card. And I asked them if each of these things they value that we have in different well-being dimensions, I asked people to think about if each of these things they value are related to the project. And if the project, the electrification project, fostered that issue, that themes, they raise the green card. If they think that that thing they value was not affected by the electrification project, they raise the yellow card. But if they think that that thing they value was worsened because of the project, they raise the red card. So what I have here is a picture of what they value in life. That is what they think about what development is, and also the connection, the relation with the electrification project. And after that,
sorry, Professor, to interrupt you. I will ask to shorten the presentation in 2 more minutes.
Okay.
If it is possible. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm finishing. Okay, let me share with you the results of the assessment. Okay, one of the things of the results of the evidences, it was that confirms that the electrification project improved many issues as expected by the NGO. I mean, if you talk to any NGO working with electricity projects, they say that it's good for reduction of smoke in the houses, kids have better conditions for studying, and also and so on. Okay, that's okay, and the research confirms that. Okay, but also we have more information about other issues unexpected by the NGO, or at least it's not as expected as they talk to me, but related with the things the community value. For example, people really value security. Is a thing they value in their lives, in their well-being, and they say security was really impacted by the project because, for example, they put the light on when they go away from home, and they feel better or more secure against theft, for example. Okay. Also, there are less immigration to the cities because they have electricity, and also they have a greater sense of dignity. So there are other things, other benefits of the project. But there are also some controversial issues. For example, the NGO doesn't electrify all the houses, and that's because they say many of them are really so far from the community center. But if you are not electrifying all the houses, you are producing inequalities between families inside the community. The other controversial issue is that when an NGO electrifies a community, even with little power, that community becomes electrified for the government. So the government say, okay, this community is electrified, I will not extend the national grid. So that's a problematic issue we can debate later. But also the research has revealed many gender inequalities caused by the electrification projects. For example, the men use light for leisure, but women to extend reproductive tasks is something we must think about if our project is to provide development or only to provide electricity. To me, this is really important. And this NGO, when running the project, normally train only men, and as well the positions of responsibility of the systems normally were only men in that responsibility positions. So the gap between women and men was distant. So more inequality inside the community. Let me finish with two conclusions. Okay, to me, technology, sustainability, efficiency are really important factors to be considered, but we should focus in inequalities, not only in the access, okay? And any solution must be framed in an energy transition. This is connecting the South and the North, and as I explained you before, we can check later in the debate, but it is important to think in a global energy transition. And let me finish with two open questions for the debate. The first one is, what can we do as individuals to the energy transition? Not only thinking about international cooperation, but what can we do? What can you do for the energy transition? And also in the specific cooperation projects, what should be considered in energy cooperation projects to be successful? We can debate this on the debate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Fernández-Baldor, for your very interesting and exhaustive presentation. We really appreciate the stressing on the social assessment in international cooperation project about energy poverty. And there are, I think, quite a lot of questions and consideration that can emerge from that presentation, so we can keep it ready for the debate. And now we can leave the stage to Mauro Borin, the head of project office of A4 Impacts, that will propose an intervention about fighting energy poverty as a leverage for actual development. So please, the stage is yours.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, it is full screen mode.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so today I will try to tackle the problem of energy poverty from a, let's say, global perspective. And in particular, I want to try to explain the interrelations between the three different dimensions of energy poverty, looking it on the social, on the environmental, and on the economic perspectives. But then, after this introduction, I would like to be a bit controversial, even me. No? So I'm going to make my accent particularly on the global, on the economic side of the coin. Why am I doing that? Because the organization I work for is a good observatory of this economic dimension. And from my personal perspective, you can see very well which are the long-term effects of the energy poverty. I'm Mauro Borin. I'm the head of project office of E4 Impact Foundation, and E4 Impact Foundation is a spin-off of the Catholic University of Milan, which works in entrepreneurship and development in 20 different African countries in partnership with local academic institutions. Now, starting from the definition of energy poverty, we have actually two different definitions. First one is from the European Union, which is a situation in which households are unable to access essential energy services. I think that it is the same definition as that Álvaro highlighted. No? And here we give the focus on accessibility. As usual, when we speak about accessibility, we speak about millions of vulnerable people without access to something that is crucial. And we will see some interesting data about that. But then we have the definition of the World Economic Forum of 12 years ago, which adds an element which is sustainability considerations. No? In this respect, energy poverty is the lack of access to sustainable energy. We see here the SDG number 7, as Álvaro was highlighting. But we have to ask ourselves, actually, what does it mean affordable, reliable, and sustainable, and modern energy for all? No? Let us see some data. First of all, 840 million people in the world currently live without electricity access. As you see, something has moved over the years, but we are really very far from the goal. Then, over 2.9 billion vulnerable people in the world still rely on unclean and unhealthy sources of energy to cook their daily meals, for instance, like firewood or even kerosene. No? You can imagine how dangerous it is. In other words, a huge number of people in the world currently use a high percentage of their monthly income on fuel sources that are slowly killing them. So when we speak about the need of affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy, it is exactly what we mean. And in this slide, you can see in a more complete way, you know, how energy poverty, which is SDG 7, you can see it on the bottom right in yellow, is strictly interlinked with healthcare, no? Which is SDG 3 in green on the top, right? But we can say it's also related to other SDGs, for instance, to education, SDG 4. Let us only think to students who have no access to electricity and that for that reason cannot do their homework at night. And all these are actually subcomponents of the social dimension as the first level of energy poverty. Then second implication is environmental dimension. Even here, energy poverty is only one in a whole series of environmental related dimensions of poverty. We have poverty due to air pollution, poverty due to water pollution or water scarcity, poverty related to loss of biodiversity, and so on and so forth. So these charts already tells us that energy poverty is not a standalone, but is actually strictly interrelated to other dimensions of poverty. And as it is easily understandable, if energy poverty means not being in a position to exploit clean sources of energy, indeed it implies more air pollution. Of course, if we use charcoal or kerosene to cook our food or to warm up or cool our house, you pollute the air. It means climate change, and in some cases, it means also environmental conflicts, loss of biodiversity, and so on and so forth. But let me come in the end to the economic dimension of eco-poverty, of energy poverty, sorry. To consider the economic implications, let me start from a quote by Bill Gates, who says, if I would pick just one thing to lower the price of in order to reduce poverty, by far I would pick energy. Why do you want to pick energy? Because energy is needed to manufacture. The fact is that a poor access to energy sources means, in the end of the day, not being able to manufacture. And as final consequence, being forced to sell raw materials in the international market at ridiculous prices. Just think that African economy in the last few decades used to go up and down according to the bubbles of some emerging countries, as for instance, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and finally China, which still rely on massive exploitation of foreign resources. And the fact is that producing raw materials only will not imply any sustainable growth, because raw materials have always a very low market price. In other words, no country in the world ever developed without proper manufacturing. As a matter of fact, for some African countries, trade with China is the cornerstone of the economy. You can see it on the slide. Look at South Sudan, for instance, 95%. And indeed, in the last 15 years, the levels of manufacturing, instead of growing, have strongly declined in Africa. Look at this. This is a piece of World Bank data. Less than 12% of the total GDP of Africa comes from manufacturing. You see, this gap from the overall world data, world means including sub-Saharan Africa, this gap could be even considered higher if you think on how poor is the tertiary sector in Africa, the sector of services. It means that the vast majority of the African GDP is raw materials extraction. It's mining. And we are not speaking of Switzerland, we are speaking about very underdeveloped countries where currencies have collapsed, which means that raw materials are exported at an absolutely uncompetitive price. And the same applies in Latin America. Now, how do we tackle this situation? What is our main strategy to tackle the situation? Is it development cooperation? I mean, this is not an answer, this is a question. I may say it depends. And here I want to be a bit controversial, because what do we mean by development cooperation? Because if by development cooperation we mean welfareism, assistenzialismo in Italian, this is not the solution. This is actually part of the problem. I mean, if cooperation is considered like this, giving free aid is the other side of the coin of the exploitation of raw materials. You don't create autonomy, but you keep creating dependency. So, do you think Africa needs our welfareism? Do you think Africa needs our unsustainable programs? Does Africa need dependency from us? I don't think so. I don't think so. That is why now, more than ever, it is necessary and urgent to move to a new paradigm of development cooperation. We can say we need to go to development cooperation 2.0, overcoming all the approaches that has characterized our methods so far. If the real engine of the economic development is manufacturing, if it is small and medium enterprise, as it is actually, we have to vision a world where everyone has the capacity and also the right to walk with his own legs. In other words, to struggle against any form of dependency, and let me use this term, new colonialism, we need to provide the necessary means for inner economic development, which first and foremost involves the universal access to clean energy sources. And that is actually the approach that we have in E4 Impact Foundation, where we train local entrepreneurs, which means local manufacturers, to grow and develop their own business. And how we do that? Starting from the local talents, and especially not imposing foreign ideas, but working on the feasibility of local entrepreneurial ideas. And I can assure you that these works, talents are there in Africa. The capacities are there, even though maybe sometimes still not fully developed. And this is so true that we managed in few years to reverse the average, we call it mortality rate of the African enterprises, which is currently the 75%. I'm speaking about 3 on 4 startups that do not survive the first 2 years of activity. We can say with pride that the 75% of the overall number of our alumni enterprises in Africa are actually still in place after 2 years. You know what is this? This has the potential to be a real breakthrough in the African economy, though it is not broadly known. This is the African Union Continental Free Trade Area, which has come into force on the 1st of January 2021. That is like the European Economic Community in Europe, no? Indeed, African Free Trade Area brings about a huge perspectives of inner development of the continent that, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, are not yet 100% unfolded. But Africa, if Africa starts its massive inner export activity, if this free trade is fully developed, you will see an interesting growing out of it, an interesting economic growth. The potential, I repeat, is there. The situation can change. What we have to do is to help in making it feasible, in making it viable. Today, I want to leave you with a question. Is the Western world really willing to foster the access to clean energy to Africa and Latin America? Is it ready for a real development of these continents? Is it willing to sit face-to-face, peer-to-peer, to the same table to design the agenda for a better world? Well, I hope it is, because I'm sure a real and just development for all could give consistent benefits to both sides. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mauro, for your very interesting intervention and very timing, I also think, considering the actual situation. And we can discuss about it at the end of the third intervention. Now we can leave the stage to Sofia De Simone from SEVA for Africa, that will introduce an excellent way of combating energy poverty in sub-Saharan Africa, how donating photovoltaic systems. So please, Sofia, feel free to start.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to talk to you about how we in SEVA for Africa are fighting energy poverty. We think that in any society, at the basis of the peaceful and the sustainable development, the energy should be produced from renewable resources. This is sadly evident in the warring time in history, in which we can no longer depend on fossil resources. In SEVA, we have been believing in renewable energy from 30 years, planning, realizing, and managing renewable energy power plants solely in Italy. The establishment of SEVA for Africa project was thanks to Stefano De Benedetti, founder and CEO of SEVA. SEVA course business is the sale of energy, and a part of SEVA's profits is donated to SEVA for Africa Onlus, the non-profit organization was founded in October 2019. What do we do in SEVA for Africa? We design and install standalone photovoltaic system in secular and religious missions operating in sub-Saharan Africa. And why did we choose this operating in this region? Because because is the highest concentration of economics and energy poverty. When the Civile for Africa project started in 2014, 710 million people had no access to electricity. The least available data is from 2019 and states at least 590 million people don't have access to electricity. We are talking about an enormous quantity of people. Taking into account the total population of the European Union, the United Kingdom, Switzerland, and Norway is only 527 million. The number of people without access to electricity is growing because for the pandemic. To deepen your knowledge of this argument, you take the link in the end of the slide text. We want to help people without electricity in a lasting way that will lead them towards autonomy. And so it's natural for SEBA put at the disposition of this not-profit organization is the know-how in production of renewable energy. Donating a photovoltaic system is like donating a cow instead of milk for 25 years to the work life of photovoltaic system. We ask ourselves, what is the best renewable resource to exploit? The answer is the sun. Not only because it is the most abundant resource, but also because we believe in distributed energy production, which has a low impact in the environment and meets the needs of people benefiting from the system. What's needed is produced on the site without waste. In addition, a photovoltaic system requires a little maintenance. What type of facility we do support? Secular and religious missionaries operating with a framework of international development cooperation. Most of our system provide energy to health facilities, school, training center, agriculture and pastoral fishing cooperatives, and shelters. These are all activities that the local community feels strongly about and so take care of them. All the more reason why we involve the people benefiting from the system in all the project phases and ask them for economic contribution, usually the transport of the material. This commitment gives an even stronger guarantee that those benefiting from the installation will take care of them. It's not a gift to come from heaven, but project built together. What has SEBA for Africa done since 2014? We have donated more 1 million euros by installing 44 systems in 10 different countries and providing a total for 354 kilowatts. What are the benefits generated by the system we have built? There are many. First of all, the quality of lives has improved. Let's give you an example. Women or wars children travels miles and miles every day to fetch water and the fuel necessary for the operation of the traditional electric generation. electricity generation. To do this, women enable lives their children, allow or take with them. Thanks to the photovoltaic system, electrical water pumps can be installed in the village, and it's no longer necessary to buy diesel. Even when people have access to the electricity grid, it is emitment and the energy emitted is a poor quality. Electricity, until breakdown and generators are needed to cover the long blackouts. So using the free resources of the sun and releases a lot of money for the mission. In referring to UN's 2030 agenda, we contribute to 3 important goals, 7, 30, and 70. We do this by providing to those who did not have access to electricity, a cheap, renewable, sustainable, and modern source of energy, opposing climate change, and working in partnership and cooperation. Our non-profit organizations support peacekeepers and missionaries who lived in the midst of the contrast and war and unrest. We make exist facilities in the middle of slum, rural, and desolate area energy independent. In fact, to the range of the project we have supported so far, we have contributed to 15 out of 70 SDGs. Without energy source, basic needs cannot be met. For example, pumping and purification of water, proper storage and processing of food, ensuring an effective health system for all, and professional training for future generations. Before giving 2 examples for case history, we are going to explain of a requirement from the facilities that we decide to support. First, must have one character, custode, caretaker, and be placed that well regarded by the local community, and the benefits a large number of people in difficulty. The service offered must be free or charged or at the reduced price. We only installed the panel on the roof, not on the ground, because the panels are better protected from dust and damage, and is more difficult to steal them. And 3, we buy material in Italy, but we ask to beneficiaries to organize the transport, logistics, and payment. We do this because it is a very delicate point in the chain, and they understood how transport and customer work. Now, look at 2 case history and show we operated. Let's start with the installation we did in Guinea-Bissau at the Caterina Troiani Hospital in Nacrateda, a rural area near to the capital, Bissau. The center is run by the Franciscan missionary sister, led by Sister Valeria, a nurse and midwife, a petite but determined woman who, after almost 30 years of missionary life in Guinea-Bissau, wanted to build a proper hospital to deal with many problems faced by the local population. As in many African countries, they are affected by many diseases, especially HIV, AIDS, malaria, hypertension, and diabetes. Maternity and prenatal care is also offered. This Catholic mission is an excellent example of peaceful and collaborative coexistence between religions. Valeria runs the health facility together with Mariam, a Muslim nurse. Sister Valeria knew that the center could not exist without a photovoltaic system, immediately asked for our help. In February 2017, we installed a 7 kilowatt standalone system, and the center immediately started working 24 hours. Through years, the hospital had become a hub for more and more people, and 6 kilowatts was no longer enough. So we went back to increase to the system to 12 kilowatts. The great advantage of photovoltaic system are the modularity and transferability. It is possible to add panel in the existing power is no longer sufficient, or to move all or a part of the system. And that's we did in 2019. The 6 kilowatts system we had previously installed would move to the Health and Nutritional Center, which has a small kindergarten in Bloom, a village near to Nacroteda. And in Nacroteda Health Center, we installed the necessary panels for the reach 12 kilowatts of power, and installed the inverters and storage system to run the system. I would like to listening to the thank you letter that Sister Valeria we sent us from first intervention, and say everything. Just a second.
Nacroteda, the 5th of November 2016. Dear Saver for Africa, peace and goodwill to you. For the recently established Nacroteda mission, the photovoltaic system is already in operation. It is an invaluable gift. I wish I had the words to express my gratitude for just how much it means for a place like Nacroteda, where electric light is simply not an option. Depending completely on the generator is not feasible for us. It's too expensive. Now we have light. We can even offer assistance for child deliveries, which would normally have to take place by candlelight or by the light of the fire. Thank you, my friends. You have made our dreams come true. Mine, those of my fellow nuns, and the peace operators who work here. It might not seem much to many, but all that money spent on diesel can now be used for food and medicines. Thank you to everyone at Saver for this project that has brought us together. Sister Valeria.
In November, Sister Valeria returned to Italy and came to our office in Milan to greet and thank us. In the picture, you see Valeria and Stefano De Benedetti, President of Saver for Africa. And now show the second case. We want to tell you about in this operations center from the coordinator of refugees in Cagabandoro, Central African Republic, run by Intersos. Since 2013, the nation has been plowed by internal conflict, and that has forced million people to flee their homes. Part of the population has found a refugee in their country, with about 700 million have been welcomed in refugees camp organized by humanitarian missions. Intersos has set up a reception camp in Cagabandoro, gives shelter about 1,700 families for a total about 9,000 refugees. Once a safe place in guarantee Intersoft staff take care of many aspects: hygiene kits, shelter management kits, project monitoring, organizing training courses, distributing agriculture and breeding kits, organizing school and courses of the numerous children, and much more. Mustafa, the coordinator of the Cagabandoro office, explained to us that every day they have to take important decision in real time, and active connection between the staff located in various camps on the head office is essential. No activities will be guaranteed without the perfect operation of the center, which must therefore have a stable connection and continuous electricity to support the Intersoft activities. And so, in July 2021, we installed a 7 kilowatts system with 7 kilowatt hour of storage. The system has allowed the center to reduce generators by 66%, saving us a significant amount of money and using stable and continuous energy. We're probably worried, why have a giant like Intersoft? We ask ourselves that too. The organizer is 100 or maybe 1,000 bigger than us. Did they really need our help? It may not have been as quick and this was for Sister Valeria. But our answer to the question, it was equally yes. One of our goals is to increase the culture of photovoltaic. Every time an opening center, dispensary, etc., is created, we want people to say, not let's buy a generator, but let's install a photovoltaic panels. One of goals is to show even the giants of the photovoltaic work, to start them on the road, and if necessary, support the technical and future installation. This year, we are starting collaborating with Intersoft. They want to install another plant with our technical support, but with their own economics resource, or by working together on some project tenders. So even after the installation of the plants, when we ask the same question again, the answer remains the same. We are happy to have donated the plant and the operating center, because what have made available in this case is not much economic resource, but our experience, specific skills and know-how. Our dream for the future is very big. In such a short time, we cannot tell you all the story we have supported, and writing this in these eight years. But you can look our website and after. And we present of the beautiful project we support in the website. The onlus was created allow other donors to believe in contribute to Save for Africa project. In fact, in these years and the next years, the project will be co-founded or fully funded by the other organizations. For example, in last week, finished installing a 12 kilowatt system in recovery center for former child soldier and orphan in Dungo, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The recovery center is supervised by the United Nations and managed by Augustinian with the World Foundation, sorry, which paid for a part of installation. Sorry. And our dream for the future is to have more opportunity to be a technical partner in a larger project or to take part in a course of proposal with counting the allocated or our economics resources to those small organizations that have difficulty in accessing structural funds. And I finished my presentation. And thanks you all for attention.
Thank you, Sofia, for your very interesting presentation and Zoom on Civil for Africa activities and projects. We hope this very rich appointment now will lead to a very active and participated debate. So I don't want to steal precious minutes to that. I would like to start if some of you has some question, consideration, or want to try to comment the provocations that our speakers left to us. I think there are quite many, and the timing of the topic is perfect, not so perfect. And so from the room, but also online, feel free to raise your hand and open your microphone and just ask question or start to share your consideration after this rich intervention. Do we have any question here in the room?
Okay, I can maybe...
Maybe you can move here, yeah. I would say.
Or we can use the microphone as well.
We have a microphone.
I don't know, I can break the ice in any case by trying to... I don't know if everyone in the online mode can listen to me.
Can you listen?
We hear not so good.
Okay.
So, what was it? Okay, good. So, yeah, well, take my notes. Sorry. So, hi everyone. Just to break the ice, because I don't want to speak alone. So I really hope that you will follow up with what I want to say. So the question raised by our second speaker, Mauro, was whether the Western world is ready to start developing and design some development goals and sustainable goals with face-to-face with the developing countries. And to that regard, I am personally very pessimistic because such projects of sustainable or even basic development exist since like 40 years or 50 years. And there are some key issues that we still nowadays don't seem able to over-tackle, or I would say the problems always grow with the advancement. So for me, one of the remarks of Mauro was also that so yeah, basically we can provide be it management or materialistic tools or financial tools to reduce rural exodus or people going from the countryside to the cities. So that's very fine. But what about gentrification and basic lifestyle change? If people again, want to leave the countryside, and if some oases of wealth are created in the developing countries, doesn't it actually, or is the social inequalities inside of this country or inside of these equalities are there taken care of? And I don't think it is. I think the local inequalities are also exacerbated by some actions that we take. We as developed countries acting in developing countries. And so basically for that regard, I think that we are not able, or in the long-term solution, we are not able to provide. And on the second regard, again, what will us, what will we, us as European or American countries, what will we be able to say when all our sustainable development goals are achieved, and the people that we want to have wealth and who we want to prospect are again going to gain it? Once we achieve this, what will be our say right to say, don't behave like us and fuck up the world like we did for 70 years? Because we are, because all of this is actually still under the umbrella of the climate mitigation. Yeah, basically this is like two big rocks that I want to to throw on the lake to break the ice. But yeah, so personally I'm quite pessimistic about it. Yeah, again, I hope to rely on the expertise of our of speakers to reassure me on this. And if any one of you wants to also say something, of course, yeah. I mean, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just leave the room.
Maybe Álvaro and Mauro Borin want to.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just say something? I don't know if I'm pessimistic or optimistic about this thing, but the fact is that as the SDGs are designed, or we make it as one word, or we don't make it, because I mean the United Nations already told several times that all the SDGs are interrelated and all the countries are interrelated. And in fact, the SDGs are an agenda that is not only for developing countries, but it's for all over the world. So or we make it, everyone all together, or we don't make it. That's my only issue about that.
Yeah, I agree with Mauro, and I also agree with the student. I don't know the name. I didn't catch the name of him, but in my opinion,
The name was Pascal, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, Pascal. Thank you for your comment, and also for break the ice. And I think we as Western countries, we should slow in our consumption, in our way of living, and we must be confident, but also we must let the southern countries to grow. Obviously, to grow, respecting the climate change, but also they want to grow, and we're not able to say, okay, we now are developed, but you must use renewable energies and you should, no. That's a colonial view of the world. We should be honest And we together, as a one only world, we should act together and think about the future in 30 or 40 years. So we must start by doing the northern, the Western countries, acting, reducing our consumption, reducing is the word. And after that, we can say something to other countries in the South.
Thank you for your answers back to Pascal. I don't know if someone else would like to add something regarding this or has some more questions. Okay, please, you can come here so the microphone will work.
Okay, can you hear me, my voice? Thank you for the presentations, and I also would like to appreciate the supports or the works which were explained in the last presentation. The works of SEVA for Africa is really appreciating. But I would like to ask, like we discussed about provision of renewable energies, mainly, let's say, solar energies. And also there are other energy sources, and each country have its own resources. So we should be focusing maybe in water or in solar. It depends on how those countries have. But I would like to ask, more than donating those panels or solar energy sources, or more than introducing those energy systems, what are the works or what are the focus of the developed nations on providing a skill or knowledge transfer? Let's say, even if, okay, we have renewable energy sources. We have so many alternative energy resources. But I think even if we say solar power is renewable or other sources, if they are still importing it, it will be difficult for the developing nations. So we are still in poverty. So what are the focus of developed nations, let's say Europeans or Westerners, on providing knowledge transfer, let's say building the capacity of the developing nations to produce those panels or to lower the expense for importing? So I would like to ask how is the focus on that part? Thank you. I don't know if you got my point, but that's what I want to ask. What are the works so far?
Okay. Sì, difficilissimo, ma ce la farò. Sorry for my horrible English. Sorry. Because importing the material in first for economics advantage, because all the material uses for our plants is produced in other continents, because it's produced or in China or in Europe, but not produced in Africa. When you buy in Italy for economics advantage, but in Africa it's possible, say it's the same materials, but I tried to buy material in Africa, but it's very difficult because it's so expensive, and the most of materials is not produced in Africa. And for this, buy in Italy and shift in Africa. for this moment is the unique solution. I hope for the future buy and production in Africa in this moment for us is not possible.
Thank you, Sofia. I don't know if someone else, maybe Mauro would like to add something, maybe strictly related to what he was saying about manufacturing, but otherwise we can move on.
No, I mean, the only thing, you are right that it's really difficult to find all the materials in Africa. The only thing is to have the possibility to allow the continuous maintenance from Africa. But the rest is quite impossible for the time being, at least. No?
Yes. Because I have a very different of quality of materials.
Thank you. So is there any other consideration that you would like to add? Or
can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, my question is for Professor Fernández-Baldor. Yeah, I found really interesting the participatory approach, the case you explained in Peru. And I was curious if this, I don't know, like shift of perspective that you had during this assessment, let's say, brought to some changes, I don't know, in the activities or, well, first of all, I don't know if it was at the beginning or at the end of the project, but if this, let's say, shift of perspective brought to new activities or to adjustment or to, let's say, the idea of using energy in a different way. It's just a curiosity, maybe. I don't know if it was clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nicola, for your question. The NGO contacted me as like 2 years later when the projects were finished. So yes, it was like a final assessment of the project. And what I showed to you was only the social part of my assessment, obviously. But yes, as they hired to me, the NGO was really open to incorporate recommendations and the evidence of the research. So yes, they also the NGO participate in the design of the assessment and also during the workshops in the assessment. And also they have incorporated all the recommendations into the new projects because that's the reason they contact me for that assessment. So now you cannot say now the projects are perfect, but they are including, for example, the gender view during all the phases of the projects. So that's, for me, is really important. So for example, now women are attending the trainings and also they are taking their responsibility positions in the energy projects. And that's, for me, just a big step. And also they have incorporated sociologists in the projects because when I was assessing the project, they were only engineers carrying out the activities. But if you want to understand what people values or what they think about welfare or what they think about development, you also must understand how the community works and the rules in the community, the context. That's really important if you want to impact the community. So now, yes, my answer is, my short answer is yes. After the research, there was a list of recommendations in each phase of the project. I mean, in the designing, implementation, in the assessment of the project. And now I'm happy because many of that recommendation now are incorporated in the work of the NGO.
Thank you.
I was thinking I was the only one from outside of Italy. All of you are speaking in English because of me. Massimo.
I think yes.
Il problema è che io capisco italiano, ho studiato in Italia, ce la faccio a capire, parlare un po', come potete vedere. Ciao Massimo, piacere vederti.
Siamo lo stesso, uguali. Io l'italiano benissimo, l'inglese un po' meno.
In Italian, please, because this is an international edition. And we have to serve our profile, international profile. I'm joking, of course. Hi, everybody. Massimo Zortea speaking from Italy, but looking to the world, I think that the energy poverty is one of the most important challenges for not only university world, but also the cooperation, international cooperation world. And the challenge is not only to provide pools with energy opportunities, but also to guarantee the justice, environmental justice, because to provide energy means to consume energy. Consume energy now is not ecological, not even. For instance, producing energy in Africa many times means to consume oil, gas, and other not renewable energy sources. The technological gap is another challenge important in terms of justice, because to produce technology consumes resources. So energy poverty is linked with several other aspects we have to consider. And the engineering point of view is to be combined with other point of view, sociological, economical, and juridical. I'm a lawyer, and I'm environmental lawyer, but I know that the putting rules, it's important, like putting technology, like putting project approach, etc. In this seminar, we have got in depth about this topic, but in all the other topics during the second edition of ESIC, we will get in depth with the problem of the poverty, the not just approach, not justice in approaching all the to all the topics of the sustainability, the sustainable development, etc. Even to create the agenda was not just balanced in terms of participation, because many participants were not involved. Participants to the challenge were not involved in preparing the agenda, discussing the agenda. And the objective number 7, concerning the energy for all, equitable, affordable, etc., 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 blah, 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 was a very important challenge for the policymakers, but now it's a very important challenge for the beneficiary of the agenda. So we are called as a practitioner, as future practitioners. In this room, we have some 12 people, apart from the 3 organizers. And many of us have run away, but be confident they will be watching the recording of this lesson. And I want to remember to everybody, we are recording, so you can recover all the other editions and the other events. But the challenge to be involved personally, everybody in the energy poverty challenge is a very, very important challenge for everybody. Apart from the different disciplines, the preparation, the missions of an NGO like Civile for Africa, a mission of the university or the governments, etc. Everybody is involved in achieving the final results by 2030 and more, in guarantee everybody is not excluded from the access to the energy. Energy means capacity to access to services, heating, lightening the rooms in which you are studying. Without light, today we will be not able to study, not able to open, switch on the machine, the platform, the virtual platform, etc. So we need energy, but many other people have not access to the energy. And this is one of the most important components of digital divide, for instance. We have also underlined during this event the problem of the access to raw materials and the access to technology. Thank you to our friend, remembering that in many countries, producing the technology is a real problem, not only installing and using the technology. So we have put on the table a lot of arguments and topics and problems we have to develop during the future events. The next one is scheduled on 23rd, so don't miss this opportunity. Thank you to our three friends, panelists, Sophia, first women, then Mauro, and last but not least, my old friend and great professor from UPV, Universidad Politecnica de Valencia, Álvaro. And of course, a great thanks to, chronologically speaking, first of all, Livia, and then my junior friend, PhD candidate, Marta Crivellaro. And so goodbye, 2 weeks only, and then second lunch is ready.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.